Welcome to Black History Monday, the show that takes you on a journey through Black history to expose our contributions, as well as many racial massacres hidden from history. So sit back, free your mind, and follow me on this journey. The harsh reality of the wet nurse. Slave trade brought many advantages to Western societies. The primary duty of a slave was to work on plantations, increasing productivity. Slaves often worked long, tedious hours in the sun with no pay or reward for their hard labor. Their presence made traders and plantation owners more productive and made their living conditions very harsh. In addition to their plantation duties, many female slaves were taken into the homes of their masters to serve their mistresses, cook, clean, and wash for them. If a mistress had too many children, the domestic worker was made to help in caring for the child. After a while, female slaves were made to take the place of low-class women paid to breastfeed babies, a practice known as wet nursing. The practice was an excuse for many white mothers to avoid breastfeeding with hopes of maintaining their stature and avoiding the messy part of motherhood. The act was perceived as self-demeaning, and women who were seen breastfeeding were often thought of as uncultured, poor, and often shunned. Doctors of the time did all they could to prove that breastfeeding was an unhealthy act for women. It is believed that doctors were paid huge sums of money to write such reports. The children of slaves grew healthy, while many white families lost their children to poor health. This made many Westerners force slave mothers to breastfeed their white children so that they could develop better and survive the early months of childhood. Once a slave mother had a child, she was quickly assigned to a white mistress and forced to breastfeed their white baby instead of her own. Young and healthy slave women were also forced to breastfeed white babies after doctors discovered that the continuous sucking of a sexually active female breast could result in lactation. While they breastfed white babies at the expense of theirs, slave mothers tried to keep their children alive by feeding them with concoctions they believed will be suitable substitutes for milk. They also gave cow milk and dirty water, which were not suitable for babies' health. This resulted in the high deaths of babies of slaves throughout the slave trade. Slave mothers often kept the white babies in their homes until the child's family felt it was time to take them back. Since the living conditions of the slaves were not the best, several white babies died. Speculating that slave mothers were killing the babies out of spite, they were later forced to move in with the family where they could be monitored. The few 19th century historians who have discussed enslaved wet nurses like Walter Johnson in River of Dark Dreams downplay the extent to which white women capitalized on black breast milk. The reason for this is because historians have focused their research on elite Southern white women while ignoring how non-elite white women used black wet nurses. By studying wet nurse advertisements in Southern newspapers, it revealed a disturbing story of white women's reliance on the exploitation of black women. Freshness was determined by the age of the enslaved wet nurse's infant. The older their infant, the less valuable her milk. Enslaved wet nurses whose infant died soon after childbirth was extremely valuable. White women appreciated the lack of the extra encumbrance, knowing full well that more time and resources would be spent on their own children. Wet nursing did not end after slavery, and many Southern white women continued to employ black wet nurses until the practice fell out of fashion in the 20th century. Like their slave ancestors, free wet nurses were often kept from their children in addition to being forced to do other household chores, but with a severely unfair wage instead of no pay at all. In the present, only 59% of black women breastfeed, compared to 79% of white women. Certified nurse and midwife Stephanie Devane Johnson interviewed black women and found that some reject breastfeeding because of the exploited wet nurses of slavery. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Find The Awakening Frequency on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Research is key. Always do your own research and never just listen to what people tell you. We are The Awakening Frequency. Out of the millions of potential subscribers, we just want to reach one so each one can teach one. Peace.